My name is Ron Doc. I got 90 seconds to get through this, so bear with me. Recovering dope fiend, that's kind of hard to do. I'm celebrating 30 years of recovery. Testing. Yeah, by the grace of God, October 5th, I celebrated 30 years. And I couldn't have done this without the community, without my church family, without a 12-step program of Narcotics Anonymous, without the police department. Let me tell you about the police department. October 5th, 1992, at 1:40 in the afternoon, Central Avenue, St. Petersburg, I tried to commit suicide after I finished trying to sniff up all of Bolivia, and drink up all the ABC liquor. I jumped in front of a car. It was a police officer. He took me, headed me out to 49th Street Jail. He changed his mind in the middle of that ride and took me to a treatment center. After I got a year clean, I went back and congratulated that police officer. So God has a lot of angels in front of a person if they need that help. You know, what I do today, I used to work for the New York Yankees for 17 years. I was one of their intervention coordinators. And what I'm doing now is giving back to the community on a regular basis in the St. Pete area. So I'm grateful to be here. I have this script, and I'm not a script person, so I'm trying to get through this. How many seconds I got left? It's a wrap. Hey, I thank you. I love you guys, and thanks for having me.
I, too, rise to share with the community and connections that would help my daughter on her road to recovery. I'm Tom Reed, and my precious middle daughter has struggled with alcohol seriously for the last several years. She was always the funny one, making everybody laugh. She's always loving and kind, but during the struggle, she's become someone I hardly recognize. Mean, hateful even, neglecting her child, refusing to pay her bills, leaving me with car payments and rent payments. Law enforcement has become involved numerous times. While our relationship is not yet what it once was, I'm hopeful that she continues on her current path, one day at a time. I'm looking forward to a time when someone like her and so many others who are in crisis, whether it be alcohol, narcotic, psychological crisis, can walk into a hospital and get the help they need as quickly as I can when I go in there saying my chest hurts. There also can be no stigma to seeking the help. I'm glad to be a part of the solution working with Live Tampa Bay as we work to stop the tide of overdose death. I will talk with every parent about recognizing the signs of abuse and working for solutions that are as precious and varied as our loved ones.
Hi, I'm State Representative Mike Caruso, District 87 in the state of Florida here, and which covers the Palm Beaches and all the towns in that district. I've raised 7 children over the last 38 years, and they're all beautiful and they're all doing well right now. But one of my sons, my oldest son, Mikey, got into drugs about the age of 18. Here's a world-class athlete. He was #1 ranked water skier in the world, got into drugs, and then got caught up in the sober home system. We call it the Florida Shuffle back then. And that's where you go from treatment center, where you go detox, 30 days cold turkey, to a sober home where you got all the drugs he wanted. So 5 years ago, I ran for office. My son had just gotten back into our lives, trying to recover. He had recovered, and he told me the stories of what went on in the sober homes. So I took that as a mission in my quest for the Florida House. And over the last 5 years, I've sponsored and had passed, signed by the governor, 5 different pieces of legislation that brought these sober homes that were the wild, wild west and brought them under certain guidelines and statutes in the Florida statutes, so that no longer did we abuse those fighting addiction and take advantage of them, but instead we treated them and helped them through their addiction process. And today, as a result, those in the addiction community are recovering at higher percentages and well on their way to recovery and to good health. So that's what I've done in the addiction industry, the sober home industry. And I'm going to keep working on it. I've got another bill this year that I'm filing in order to to better that whole system. So it's a process. It's something, it's a working process, and I hope you get on board with it. Thank you.
My daughter is Kim Kinkle, and Kim Kinkle had a 20-year experience with drugs, alcohol, and mental health. She was dual diagnosed. So the 20 years she fought every day to try to get better. And in 2015, we had asked her to go into rehab. She was there for 2 years. She was clean and sober. I called her the night before I was to pick her up and said, "Are you okay?" She said, "Yes, and Daddy, I'll see you tomorrow." And tomorrow never came really for us. I got a phone call that we all dread, and we wait for that phone call for 20 years. Every time the phone rang, I was a nervous wreck. And they called me, and we went to the hospital, and she was on life support for 6 days on life support. And finally gave us some time to spend with her. With a lot of parents don't get that chance. Of course, a lot of overdoses don't happen that way. They're a lot worse than that, if you can believe that. It's true. So we spent some time with Kimmy, and we talked to her and just loved her as much as we could. So we started a fund, and I'm chairman for the Children's Hospital in Fort Myers, and we started a fund called Kimmy's Angels, because we believe in angels, and usually I give angels out to everybody I meet. So today, because I don't have them with me, I know I'm with 300 angels in this room today, so thank you, and I thank you very, very much.
And I'm a person in long-term recovery from substance abuse, and for me that means 9 months without a drug or a drink. I'm 15 years old, and I've been in 8 programs, and what that means is that a lot of them didn't really work that well, because programs like to label addicts as degenerates, and instead of trying to help them, they try to punish them usually. And I'd like to bring awareness to that, because there's a lot better ways to help people recover than trying to punish someone, like putting them through connections, helping them build relationships again. I'm glad to be a part of the solution, working with Live Tampa Bay as we work to stop overdose deaths, and I commit to sharing my connections and community that help me keep hope alive.
I also rise to share the community and connections that would help our loved ones on the road to recovery. I'm Julie K. Kettles, and I lost my daughter Heidi at the age of 27 to an overdose on fentanyl in 2000. And she was the mother of 4 young children, 2 girls and 2 boys, that she left behind, which is proof that opioid use disorders do not discriminate. I've learned to channel my grief and to tell her story, which I plan to get out in the community to do more and more with other parents to let them know that they're not alone. I remember, Heidi's, I think of her as her loyal and non-judgmental heart towards people in her life. And that, lets me know every life is worth fighting for. Her substance use led her down a path to put her in front of a judge. Although fentanyl, I do not believe she knew that there was fentanyl when it happened in what she was taking, because she died with cocaine as well. And I'm looking forward to a community where more judges will sentence somebody like my daughter to a women's treatment center instead of a women's jail. And where choices will be made or given to them that they can still choose maybe a faith-based center, So that's what I look forward to. And I'm glad to be a part of the solution, working with Live Tampa Bay as we work to stop the tide of overdose death. I want to bring awareness to parents about the dangers of fentanyl, because most of us all know that here, but many still don't know it. And I also want to support every parent that's been through the loss of a child, as I have been. And I promise to keep hope.
I too rise as a recovery ally to share the community and connections to help our loved ones through their recovery journey. I'm Amy Ronshausen, and I'm the Executive Director of Drug Free America Foundation. But today I'm here as a friend of somebody in recovery. Sybil and I have been friends since middle school, best friends. She's always been the life of the party to my nose in a book, the cheerleader and hip-hop dancer to my black eyeliner and Jane's addiction. At some point we grew apart, and during this time she experienced an opioid addiction. We reconnected when she was early on to her recovery, and I wasn't sure where she was at finding her voice and her way to help others. I was looking for somebody who could liven up some of our events, and I knew community partners were looking for somebody to work with youth. I immediately thought of Sybil, but wasn't sure where she was at in her journey. My heart told me to reach out because I knew she'd be the perfect person, her and her youth dancers, and she would bring so much creativity, and it would be way more than what I could possibly envision. I'll let Sybil tell her story, but to all the recovery allies out there, I want to tell you not to give up. Your loved one and friend is in there, probably struggling to break free. And when they do, by the grace of God, they'll be even more awesome than you remember.
I just entered 9 years of opioid-free living. Yes. But I'd like to say that addictions do not discriminate, and we're all in recovery for something. So I don't like to really just label me as in recovery, long-term recovery. We're all in recovery for something. I would not be here today if it wasn't, first of all, for my man upstairs. That's how me and my boys refer to God. So I kept him close always, and he's still my co-pilot now. My family, Amy, of course, introduced me to an event actually with the folks that I'm sitting with here, and I had to dance with children, and I said, oh my goodness, how am I going to do this where they're talking about the drugs I used to do and opioids like crazy. And so I dug deep into my passion where it was coming back, and that's what Amy noticed why she asked me, because we did drift, but she knew that I was finding my purpose and my passion again, and that's what I needed to have these events to bring me back to where I came from. And I did all of this without a recovery facility. Did not go to a facility, which is quite unusual for most. So we do not need a facility. Everybody's recovery is very different. It looks very different. So I like to use the phrase that I say to my dance kids, or really everybody that I work with, is the world is your stage. How will you perform? You can choose how you move. And we were all born with 3 things: a mind, a body, and a life. And what we do with the first 2 determines the third. And that is what
My name is Michelle Ranger-Goolsby, and I'm a state representative for House District 62. I am rising today to share the community and connections which would help us and our loved ones on the road to recovery. I lost a dear friend of mine to her struggle to addiction. She was the friend that believed in me. She was the friend that said that I should run for office, even when I told her I would never run for office. And she even predicted when I would run for office. She was a mom. She was a partner. She was a bright light. And we lost her far too soon. Just today, I saw a post on Facebook where she tagged me in it on for Women's History Month, and was saying what a remarkable woman that I am. And I wish that I had the ability to pick up the phone today and call her and tell her what a remarkable woman she is. Addiction touches people from every walk of life, from every phase of life, every gender identity, race, everything. And I am committed to working with our community, working with people to find solutions that are varied and precious as the ones who are on the road to recovery, and making sure we don't lose any more.
To share the community and connections which will help us and our loved ones on their roads to recovery. My name is Dr. Butler, Dr. LaDonna Butler. I have a first name. And I am the daughter of Jake Whitfield. The opiate epidemic steals not addicts, but it steals fathers. It steals mothers. It steals neighbors. It steals aunts and uncles and friends. That's who this epidemic is affecting. We will say their names. After 30 years, I met my father. And because of his absence, because he did not get the help that he needed, and it was treated as criminality versus a health condition, I then suffered my own illness. I became a survivor. And now I stand here as a provider because as I understood the true impact of relationships, the power of connections, the multiple paths of recovery, that when we all see each other in our fullest humanity, we can get the help that we need. So in my rise, I don't rise as a daughter of an addict. I rise as the daughter of someone who is loved beyond measure and is now living actively, not in recovery only, but as a valued member of this community. I rise in connection. I rise in resiliency. And I use this new frame to help not educate, but bring about further connection through my organization, The Well for Life, because I'm a whole licensed mental health clinician around here. So we provide awareness. We provide space for connection. And in the midst of individuals deciding where they want to enter their journeys of recovery, we provide space. We just provide space for family, for members, for us and providers to see the power of connection. I'm so pleased to be partnered with Live Tampa Bay, knowing that my connections build connections that help all those who need connection. I invite you to do the same.
I rise today to share the connections and the contacts that have helped me on my road to recovery. My name is Eddie. I'm an ex-convicted felon. I served a 10-year prison sentence for trafficking cocaine when I was only 18 years old. My drugs and alcohol addictions are what drove my criminality. I went from, in the short span in high school, I went from being ranked in the top 2% nationally in academics to facing 30 years in prison shortly after graduating. So my addictions led me on a dark journey, but through God's grace and a relationship with Him, also with 12-step programs such as AA, Celebrate Recovery, I was able to work my program and address my hurts, habits, and hang-ups. And today I'm living a transformed life. I'm now a consultant and branch manager for an international logistics brand. I'm the vice president of a nonprofit 501c3 helping impoverished communities, including some in Peru, where my family is from. And I'm working with the Tampa Bay Business Club, Tampa Latin Chamber of Commerce, to help wherever I can, help share my story, just to help keep hope alive. So thank you.
And now, I am Sandra Yvette Miranda. I am a mother of a young man, my youngest son, David Jeremy Salas. At the tender age of 21, died of an overdose 7.5 years ago. As a mother, I saw him not as a drug addict, but as a young man who was struggling and was not able to communicate those struggles within themselves. And it seemed like I was talking and we were speaking two different languages. David was an old soul trapped in a young man's body. He connected no matter what walk of life a person was. He was a loving, caring, tender young man. Unfortunately, though, he struggled with things that I was not able to comprehend to this day. He was Baker acted. He was in front of a judge, and I was there. And as a spiritual leader, it was hard for me because I was faced with something that I was not used to. And I believe that programs are important. I believe that faith-based is essential, but there needs to be a community and connection along with that because we are dealing with people. And when we're dealing with people, we're dealing with emotions, mental, the spirit, mind, and body. And so with that said, I am so glad to be connected to Live Tampa Bay. The way I was able to channel my grief was to write my first book and write my life story. It's called Masterfully Crafted, because I want to help others, individuals, that may be facing this, whether it be parents, whether it be a single person, and not just only in English, but also in Spanish, because there's such a huge community here in Tampa Bay. And so with that said, I am so proud and so glad to be part of the solution for Tampa Bay, and that hope lives again, que la esperanza todavía continúe.